What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Living Blessed, the podcast. I'm your host, Joevan J. Palmer. As always, we have amazing people on the podcast sharing transparent and vulnerable moments. I have Miss Amanda on today's episode. How are you, Amanda?
I'm good. How are you, Joevan?
I am amazing now that you're here.
Thanks.
I'm glad to have you.
Same.
Introduce yourself. Let people know who you are, what you do.
Sure. I'm Amanda. I'm from Michigan. I'm a plant medicine practitioner, and I'm also a digital marketer, really just a serial entrepreneur.
Word. Plant. So you say you're a plant
medicine
practitioner. How'd you get into plant medicine?
So, I don't know how I originally heard about plant medicine. And the term is like earth medicines or plant medicines, fungi, animal medicine. But 2017, I was living in Los Angeles and I was in a relationship and I didn't like how I was being in the relationship. And I was like, I see some things that I really need to fix and work on and kind of heal in order for me to move forward. So I got out of the relationship, and someone told me about an ayahuasca ceremony that was coming up in a few weeks in California, and I lived in California. And this is pretty rare at the time. At least it was rare to my consciousness because they're not legal yet. So it was kind of underground, and I was like, you know, whatever I have to do, I have to be there. Like I have to get deep, deep healing. So I did that ceremony. My whole life kind of flipped upside down. And after that, right as my Elise ended, I spent 2.5 years traveling the world, trying different plant medicines. And my change was so great that I was like, I have to offer this to other people. I have to create the space for other people.
Yeah.
And in my quest to create the space, I became certified in one of the medicines, and I've just kept it going.
Okay, that was a lot.
I know.
That was a lot, but it was good. So you said you had some healing to do.
Yeah.
So what were some of the things that you mind sharing, of course, that you feel you had to heal from, and then where did the acknowledgement come from? Because some people don't know that they need to heal. A lot of people feel like, oh, life is fine. This is just who I am. It's genetics. All the excuses that we use to kind of mask our traumas. Where did you say, where was it for you to say, Joe, there's something inside of Amanda going on that doesn't feel like the person I want to be?
I mean, it was two things. So the first thing, I felt like in the relationship, I was acting like it was all about me, and his needs or desires really didn't matter. And I felt like that was like terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? In a relationship, it's about
absolutely.
you and me. Like, we're relating. Like, you should go into it like, how can I support you? How can I love you? And
right.
it was at some point, it just became all about me. And the second thing was there was kind of an intense jealousy that I felt. And I was like, oh, no, this is completely unhealthy. Like, I have to heal this. I have to fix this.
Good. So in the healing process, because it's never beautiful, it's always ugly. What were some of the things that you discovered about yourself?
I don't know how to answer that question, honestly. I really don't know how to answer that question, honestly, because I feel like the things I discovered and saw about myself were what led me to the path of healing. So it was kind of the opposite way. Does that make sense? It was like the other way around. Like, ooh, girl, we got to change this.
So as you're healing, you're noticing the things.
It's more like I notice the things and then I have to heal them.
Got you. So it's like you notice. So if, say, for instance, you say, you know what, I got a bad attitude. Let's heal this. Let's focus on this right now.
Yeah.
So you jump right into it.
Yeah.
There's no maybe tomorrow, maybe next week. It's like you dive straight into the healing process.
Yes.
Why?
You have to.
Why do you have to? Because some people don't believe they have to. Some people believe, oh, I mean, it'll happen on this time, or life will take its course and it'll just get better. But you say you have to focus on it right then and there.
Yeah, because trauma is like an inverted pyramid. and I'm sure you've heard this before, but trauma is like an inverted pyramid, right? So let's say a traumatic event happened to you when you were 5 years old, and that's the bottom of the pyramid. You create associations based on that trauma, and you start to build all these building blocks that are blocking you from experiencing greatness, and they're just creating all these blocks in you, right? So instead of focusing on the things that happen and kind of picking apart those blocks at the top, you have to go to the bottom, and once you remove that root thing, everything else will fall down. Like all the trauma associations that you have. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah, so you have to go to the root of it because it's causing havoc in your life.
Right.
And blocking you from experiencing life, in its fullness.
So what have, in your experience, what have you noticed tackling trauma head on, or tackling, things going on head on? What has the benefits been for you?
I mean, there's been so many. It's like, like trauma, like it's layers, layers and layers. So I would say a better relationship with myself, more confidence, and I'm always still growing in this area, but a better relationship with myself, more confidence, more increased ability to connect with my people, being a giver, being a lover, increased income, increased peace, happiness, anything you can imagine. Candyland, really.
Ooh,
yeah,
that's good. So growing up in Michigan, what was life like?
Growing up in Michigan was cool. It was cool. You know what's funny? I think like wherever all of us lived, it's more like, okay, growing up in like the 80s and 90s, like what was that like? Without social media. Like for you, like what was that like?
A lot peaceful, a lot less stress, because I feel like with social media, you have to keep up. You feel like you have to keep up, not with people per se, but just kind of keep up with just the daily postings of what's happening in your life. Because once somebody subscribes to your life, they want to know. It's like you're a walking YouTube channel in a sense on Instagram. And it's like you got to post because you either run the business like myself and yourself, running a business, so we want to know, hey, this is what's going on in my business. This is what's going on here. And prior to, for me, just for social media, it was just like life just seemed just so much more regular. And life seemed more precious. And life seemed more, it seemed more, what's the word I'm looking for? Less, I can't think of what I'm looking for, but I'm going to stick with less. It was more precious without social media.
What does that mean to you, precious?
To me, I might be interviewed right now.
Yeah, right now. In this moment. I want to know.
No, it was just, life just seemed so much innocent, where the speed of light is on social media. As soon as something happens, everyone goes straight to social media. No one goes to the source anymore.
What's the source?
The source is, so like, say for instance, we know a mutual friend named Ricky. Ricky passes away. My family has to find out on social media that Ricky passed away.
Wow.
Versus, someone getting a phone call saying, hey, Ricky passed away, and we have a moment to have our moment instead of the whole world having a moment. Because on social media, it's just nothing but moments for us. It's only moments.
Wow.
Versus us knowing Ricky, this is a lifetime effect on us. So once it's going to pass on social media, everyone's going to go on about their lives. But for us, it's like we still have to live in memory of Ricky.
Wow.
So that's what life was for me without social media once upon a time.
Wow. That's so real. And you know what? I think that's part of one of the things that I feel like things that brought me back to, like plant medicine has brought me back to, like the sacredness and preciousness.
Yeah.
And it's like you still live in this world and you still have to play by
right.
these
Yeah,
rules,
exactly. Yeah. It's a tough balance. It's a very tough balance because you want to play by the rules to kind of keep up and, of course, be in the now of what's going on. But you also sometimes you want to be able to scale away. Like for me, I'm going to love when I become this digital nomad where I can just travel the world and have conversations like this with people from various cultures.
Yeah.
get to know their culture and allow the world to get to know their culture. Because I feel like there's so much misunderstanding of each and every last one of our cultures nowadays. And we no longer get an opportunity to really get to know somebody besides what TV tells us, the narrative that society plays. So if I get an opportunity to travel the world and podcast and get to know somebody who's Hindu, or get to know somebody who's a native African, or get to know somebody who's native, from Ireland or something like that, and get this to there's this whole thing with Ukraine going on right now. America is telling us one story. Mm-hmm. A true Ukrainian can tell us, it's not that. And I would love to just really just sit down and talk. What was life like before this whole disaster that happened? How did it affect you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
What about you?
What about me?
Life prior to social media.
Oh, man. I think you were way more present. Way more present and in the moment. And it's how they say anxiety is living in the future, depression is living in the past.
Yeah.
I feel like people were just way more present and, like you said, more precious of personal connections. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it's a blessing, and I don't want to say it's a curse, but it's a blessing and a curse. It's Lord. It helps you connect with people you would have never connected to, but it's terrible.
No, it is. I agree. So, Amanda, who is she?
You know what I think? Because I don't know that anyone's really asked me this question. I think I'm just an infinite discoverer. Just always learning and trying to figure things out. And I think that's really at the crux of who I am.
An infinite discoverer.
Yeah, that's what popped up.
Let's go deeper.
So
what do you feel like you're always discovering?
I definitely feel like I'm always discovering myself. I mean, how you were saying, what are some of the things you discovered about yourself? There are things I discover about myself, ooh, girl, we got to change that every single day. But there's also things you realize these patterns that you do, are actually really dope. So always discovering myself. So you're discovering
the good and the bad.
The good and the bad, yeah. I mean, because there's always light and dark in everybody, and you have to embrace both.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people, when we go on these self-discovery things, I think we only look for the bad.
Yeah.
We never look for the good of
yeah,
you're really dope.
Yeah.
Or yesterday you had a great day. Let's just dwell on yesterday for a little bit, the goodness of the day.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
Why do you believe we as humans only dwell on the bad of who we are in self-discovery?
I really don't know the answer to that. I have no idea what the answer is, but I know that we have a propensity to dwell on the negative. Even social media, there's this page I follow, and I've noticed it myself. There's this page that I follow. He's a yogi, astrologer, something like that. And he even put a post up that said I noticed kind of the more negative posts I get all these likes and reactions and comments. But when I post love and light, it's crickets a little bit. I don't know what that is.
Do you think on a social media standpoint that the algorithm has something to do with that? Or it's just is it as we as humans, we dwell on negativity?
I think both, for sure. I definitely think both. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole.
We can. We have time.
No, I think it's both. I definitely think it's both. I think it's both. We'll stop there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you decided to learn more about plants, the holistic side of medicine.
Mm-hmm.
When's the last time you took Western medication?
It's interesting. I wasn't feeling well. I had a ceremony 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't feeling well. And when I say ceremony, I hosted a psilocybin microdosing ceremony in...
A what?
A psilocybin, magic mushrooms.
Okay, you're going to have to explain that a little later.
Sure, yep.
Because you 100%. Just lost me with the
really?
whole...
Yes. You know what magic mushrooms are, right?
No.
Shrooms?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So they're called psilocybin mushrooms. And I hosted a microdosing ceremony, which means we had everybody come together. They're taking like a sub-perceptual level of psychedelics, basically. And we're helping them meditate. We're helping them release trauma. It's like a really, really light ceremony. We're playing music. We're kind of getting in there on a light level. And it's great for people who want an introduction. And I did not feel well. I had a headache and I took Tylenol. This is kind of a offshoot story, but I took Tylenol before the ceremony. And when I go into ceremony mode, I can tune into somebody and see like where on their body they have stuck energy or something might hurt or where they like, kind of need to heal. And it happens as soon as I go into ceremony, after the prayers are said, when I'm saging everybody. And I'm saging people. And most people have trauma in their body. Like, it's just what it is. I'm sage. That's not normal, by the way. But
it's not normal for
everyone. It shouldn't be normal. We should be living. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I'm saging everybody, and on the third person, I'm like, yo, I can't feel a thing. I'm like, all these niggas healed. I didn't mean to say that word. I'm like, is everybody just healed up in here? And I was like, what is going on? And then I was like, oh my God, I took Tylenol, and I completely forgot. Like they have done studies where Tylenol blocks your empathy. Like it completely blocks your empathy. You're not able to connect to people.
Really?
And on an energetic level, same thing. Like I can't feel your aura. Like I'm completely blocked. I can't feel it. And I was like, what in the... I was like, I will never do this again.
So with you, I'm going to say on Tylenol, with the Tylenol in your system, with the Tylenol in your system, it blocked the energy that you would typically reciprocate from other people.
Yeah.
So how did you perform in that moment?
You know what? I was like, okay, well, what I need to do is, first of all, I was like counting down and I was like, well, I took the Tylenol with this. It should be kind of wearing off. But I just went in the back and I took my microdose sooner. I had a co-facilitator, so she took over. I went in the back. I took my microdose just so I could kind of get that in my system and start to feel people again. And I absolutely did. And it was amazing. Like, it's amazing when you feel things and then someone verifies it for you after ceremony. It's like the best thing.
So what do you feel that I'm feeling right now?
I don't know. Dang. I didn't set up ceremony. I haven't connected yet.
So how do we connect?
I don't know that we could do it here.
You got a channel each other?
we can take it offline.
Okay.
And I connect, but I can't tell.
So explain the process of from you setting up this ceremony to being at the ceremony, what you can, because it's sacred, of course.
Yeah.
So what you can share, so people can kind of get a little bit more, get to know idea of like, what it's like. Yeah.
So the first thing that happens is you have a location for your ceremony and you kind of clear the space energetically. So you're saying prayers over the house or over the place before you even get there. When you get there, you're using plants, herbs, whatever, to cleanse the space and like get rid of negative energies, stagnant energies, any spirits that might be lingering in there. Then you have people come in and after they kind of get settled, you're setting the space. So you're talking to everybody about their intentions. Sometimes I have like a candlelit intention setting ceremony where people are writing their intentions on the candle and we let them burn like all weekend.
They write their intention on the candle.
Mm-hmm. Like a 7-day candle. You've
okay.
Seen
yeah. Mm-hmm.
With a Sharpie. So they're writing their intention on the candle, and this is for them to really connect to their intention and to energetically symbolize like, hey, this whole weekend, this is what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Then you sit down, you're saying prayers, you open up the ceremony energetically, you protect the space energetically, and you could do this through certain types of plants. And then depending on what medicine you're taking, you'll typically you start with, I start mine with the medicine I was showing you off camera first, called Hape or Rape. Then I might do a different one called Sananga. And some of these medicines are to open up your third eye so you can actually see visions, or you can kind of see what's going on. And some of them are to cleanse negative energy or stagnant energy in your body so you can like receive the medicine. And after that, you're kind of taking your cup of medicine, you're laying down in a circle, and depending on the ceremony where it is, you either have like a shaman or an ayahuasquero, huachumero, they're playing music the entire time. Or, you know, if it's kind of like a Western thing, we might be playing music over a speaker, which isn't ideal, but it's what happens. And they sit down, and however long it takes for them to feel the effects of the medicine, depending on which one it is, they might purge, they might not purge, and they feel the medicine, and then they're kind of going through their ceremony.
So, in these moments, so writing this really deep, okay? Like, spiritual deep. Because there's certain religions that would probably go against everything you're saying right now.
Yes.
And there's people who subscribe to Christianity, people who subscribe to Hinduism, people who subscribe to, you know, who's a Muslim, whatnot, who would say, yo, this is witchcraft. What do you say to that?
First, I would ask them, what is their definition of witchcraft? You know? I mean, and if they're saying like, okay, you know, like, what is witchcraft? Like I want to know, how do you define witchcraft? And then they would tell me, you know, whatever they think, and then I would kind of walk them through the process. Well, first of all, I'm not here to change anyone's mind. No. And I know you know that, but I would let them know I'm not here to change anyone's mind. Like, if you feel that that's what it is, then, you know, God bless you, and, you know, carry on. But for people who would say it's witchcraft, it's not. You're connecting with spirits because it is a spiritual thing. So that's like the first thing you want to understand. Yeah. These plants have consciousness, they have spirits, and they are here to help us.
The plants have consciousness?
Absolutely.
What do you mean?
So the plants are conscious beings. Even like if you walk into a plant store, you'll hear the people describe it like, oh, my plant got really sick. People meaning the ones who work there. So they're already kind of personalizing these plants. And I don't even know if they like know that they're doing it. They're like, oh, my plant got really sad. Like when I, you know, took her away from the sun, or she's acting moody, you know, for the last month because I haven't been watering her, whatever. The plants have consciousness. They're an energy just like we are. If you ever watch like a slow-mo video of plants and watch the way they crawl and respond to light and respond to water, it's, I don't want to say it's human-like, but it's a consciousness.
I never thought about it that way. I know when as a kid in science class, they would tell us like, yo, just speak to your plants. And I think they did a study where if you spoke positively to a plant, it thrived. If you speak negatively towards the plant, it pretty much just died off. Yeah. So that's the conscience that you're talking about that the plants have. Is just like they're energetic beings just as we are.
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. Absolutely. They're energetic beings. I always think about like the Venus flytrap. Like,
yeah, that's what I was thinking of too. Yeah. Yeah. Like, you know, even what we've seen on cartoons and stuff, how they have so much life and personality. But if you actually look at actual real Venus flytrap, they move, they eat animals just like, you know, like we do in a sense, well, insects, should we say. But they have a life inside of them, just not the same way as we have life, you know, with a heartbeat and, you know, blood flowing through the veins and whatnot. But wow, so they're energetic beings just like we are.
They're energetic beings just like we are, and they have consciousness. So people who are like shamans who have been studying for 10, 20...
Explain a shaman.
So a shaman is someone who can basically connect. There's no technical definition, but someone who can connect with the spirit world, like very easily. I hope that's giving you enough.
Yeah. No.
So if I'm talking about shamans who also serve medicine, like an ayahuasquero shaman.
An ayahuasquero?
Ayahuasquero. Yep. Ayahuasca is one of the sacred plant medicines.
Okay.
And what they have to do in order to like be able to serve this medicine and help people is they have to diet with these plants.
You have to diet with the plants.
Yep, in what's called a dieta. So what this means is like they will take 8 months. They will only have like plantains or something. They can't have salt, they can't have sugar. They can really only have like super plain plants, and that's to keep their energetic body really clear. And they also diet with the medicine. So they might take the medicine every day. And what this does is they form a bond with the plants, and they're able to hear the plants and the consciousness of the plants a lot clearer, because they don't have, they don't have a cheeseburger in their system or what have you. And the reason they do this is because then when they go into ceremony with people like us who are ready to heal something, ayahuasca will tell them what to do and tell them how to help this person heal. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And they use different Icaros, that's a type of song, to help people during ceremony. So the plant might tell them, hey, you need to play a song now that's for deep trauma releasing, or hey, you need to play a song now that's a lot lighter, or you need to play a song that does this, because the song is what helps move the energy in the body. Like, you can't have a ceremony without song. It's kind of intertwined.
That makes sense, because you think about when we have events, we can't have an event without music. If you go to church, you can't have church without music. If you go to, really can't go your day without, well, you probably can, but every day is a ceremony.
Right.
And within that ceremony, you have something that you're subscribing to, whether it be music, whether it be a podcast, whether it be a TED Talk or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, those are the things that's getting us in the moods that we need to be in. So
exactly.
When they say the music, hey, utilize the music helps us channel whatever it is that we're trying to release, right?
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And them dieting with the plants, when you take the plant in ceremony, the plant is able to tell them, the consciousness, the spirit of the plant is able to tell them, like, kind of exactly what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
I always found it really interesting that, like, anytime I've sat in ceremony with, like, an ayahuasquero, wachimero, like, someone who's been dieting with the plants for a long time, I'll be sitting thinking of something, and, like, they'll literally walk over and they'll talk about exactly what's going on in my head. I'm like, how in the heck did you know that? It's because when you take the medicine, you take the medicine, you're all connected in that moment, and the shaman can tune in to exactly what's going on. That's why it's so important that, like, people choose who they sit in ceremony with responsibly. Like, I'm really, really, really big on that.
So in ceremony, say for instance, I got my friend right here, Brandon. Mm-hmm. We go together to the ceremony. Should we or should we not sit together because we know each other and we feel safe with one another, or should we say, you know what, I'm going to diversify and go meet somebody new and go sit with them instead?
During the ceremonies, there's no talking aloud, so it's totally up to you if you want to sit by him or not. So you're kind of having separate ceremonies.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And, I mean, you're going to all be connected anyway, even if someone's on the other side of the room, so you can kind of sit wherever.
So, shrooms.
Yeah.
I'm curious. I'm very curious about shrooms, because I've heard good things about them, and I've heard like some things about them that kind of make me a little nervous.
Cool. What'd you hear that made you nervous?
They see you kind of freak out. You might freak out, I guess, because you go into this space you've never been before, and when you get there, you don't know what's gonna come out your mouth, what's gonna come out your body, like what's gonna happen. That's what I've heard. That's my ignorance to what I've heard of it. But you know a lot more about it. This is what you do. Explain shrooms to, of course, one, me, and then two, of course, the audience.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm still, like, compared to these people who have been doing it for decades, like, I'm still a beginner. I just want to put that out there. But it's psilocybin mushrooms that you take, and they are a psychedelic medicine. Mm-hmm. And what happens is, when you take them, your mind goes from working on the default mode network, which is like the mode that kicks in your brain when you're not focusing on a specific task. And it starts to, so since that is off, you're able to see kind of everything that's actually going on in your mind that you're not noticing when you're kind of on your default mode network, if that makes sense. So in these ceremonies, you can do anything from like...
I keep going. Look at that book bag on the left. Keep going.
In these ceremonies, you can have all different types of experiences, from like, oh, I just feel a little bit happy if you take like a small dose, to a complete ego death, which it sounds like someone who explained it to you may have had that experience, like if you take a really high dose. And well, first of all, let me say the most important thing is set and setting when you take any medicine. So like set is your mindset, your intentions, how you go into it, because the higher planes dominate lower planes, and the human plane is higher than the plant plane. So when you tell the plants an intention, they go to work helping you out with that. If you don't set an intention and you're just at a party and like the music is loud and you're listening to like rap music that's talking about bees and hoes and all this stuff, like where do you think you're going to go? You know, like what type of experience do you think that you're going to have when, you know, you're so connected to everything? I don't remember what I was saying before that.
So what do you feel has been the most beneficial experience for you? Like when you first got into this, and you say, well, one, how did you get into it?
Like I said, that breakup, and I was just like, you know what? Let me go towards psychedelics, because...
So you just like, yo, I had this breakup with this guy. We broke up for whatever reason. And you just you already knew about this prior to, or... I
had heard about it, but when I like was kind of going through it was like week 1 of the breakup, my coworker was like, hey, I had this experience on ayahuasca, and I was like, oh my God, can I get, you know, the person's contact information? And it just so I emailed she emailed him for me. You know, you gotta like, it's like a drug dealer, you know, like you can't contact him. He gotta contact you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay. And he was like, yeah, I'm actually gonna be there in 2 weeks, which is perfect, because at that point I was on antidepressants, and antidepressants and ayahuasca, you could die. So he was like, get off of it today, and then you can still make the ceremony. A huge blessing. It was literally perfect timing. So what has been the biggest thing that I've learned? I think that first ceremony was probably the most impactful, as terrified as I was, because I think it kind of broke my consciousness of everything I thought was true wasn't true. And it just changed me. It kind of... what is that thing, you know, steered me in a different direction.
Got you. So you were on antidepressants. If you mind me asking, what reason?
I think I was, you know, I was going through that breakup. I went to see a psychiatrist, and she's like, oh my God, you're so depressed. Like, you need to take this medication. And so I took the medication because I really was like super sad. This was
like a very like long-term relationship.
No.
Oh.
No, it was just that painful. You ever had a relationship that like may have been short, but it fit your little trauma so perfectly that it was like a wound, like a huge wound. Exactly. It was not long at all. But
you all's bond, or what you thought it was just like that connected.
It was more the trauma that he triggered in me. You know?
So what it was like, you know, there was an unresolved trauma within you.
Exactly.
You didn't know that trauma was unresolved.
Exactly.
The breakup or whatever he did to you triggered that.
The whole relationship was a trigger. The whole relationship was a trigger.
And I don't think a lot of people really realize that relationships can be very traumatizing.
Exactly. And it's like, it's never, I mean, in part the person, but it's mostly a lot of times when you have those painful experiences, it's triggering the unresolved trauma that you had in childhood, like literally perfectly. And that's why it was so painful. And I swore, I was like, oh, I'm a G, like I'm about to do these psychedelics, I'm about to be cool. It took me about 4 years to heal that.
4 years.
4 years. I swore it was going to be one and done, and I kept thinking that. It was not. It was like 4 years.
4 years to heal one trauma.
I don't think it was
one trauma. Well, not one trauma, but like So would you say like a lifetime of traumas?
That's what I think. I think like that was so representative of so many things that I had been, and it's a huge blessing if you think about it.
Yeah.
God is like, okay, I'm gonna deliver that one that'll hit trauma 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're just gonna one fell swoop get it all together, and yeah, it took me about 4 years.
So in these years, in year one, what was trauma one that you
What
uncovered?
was trauma 1? Well, God, I can't even like put that. What was trauma 1? I can't even put it into one thing. I'll say one huge thing, and I've like never said this publicly because it's embarrassing to me. Honestly, I might even start crying.
It probably won't be embarrassing.
It's really
Can't be.
embarrassing.
Nothing's embarrassing to me. I feel like I'm sorry to say, I don't want to feel like I'm like what's wrong. I don't feel like I'm taking away from what you experienced, but I realize like everything that we've gone through, somebody else has gone through it, and it's all a life experience.
You're right. Okay, well, I might start crying. I've never like talked about this. Like only my friends know, but the one thing that took me a good long minute to kind of get over was that he had a friend, and I thought he just really was actually secretly in love with her, and she had more curly European hair. And that was the biggest wound to me. The biggest wound to me, because I grew up in mostly an all-white environment. I didn't really have a black family to kind of, oh, you're beautiful, your hair is beautiful. My mom has more European curly hair, and, you know, always talking about how nappy our hair is and how, you know,
What's
we
your
might
nationality?
be happier, huh?
What's your
Black.
like? Okay.
And, you know, how we might be happier, like, if we had straight hair. And so I hated my hair forever. I always felt like I was less than. I always felt like I was really ugly because I have, you know, more coarse texture hair. And just feeling ugly because of that. And him having this person that I swore he was just in love with, that was hitting on, like,
that trauma of childhood.
Yeah, the deep. And then, of course, society, like, you know, good hair.
But that's something every black girl experiences, though. Every black girl, I believe, in their lifetime experiences the issue with the hair. Is it straight enough? Is it long enough? Is it curly enough? Is it light enough? Is it dark enough? Is it red enough? I think every black girl in America has faced that issue of the traumas of hair. I believe hair is a trauma because society says, you know, it's got to be straight. That's why perms were so pushed probably when we were both kids. Like, you know, we seen what's that? Just for Me was being pushed on all types of kids, like, because I want my hair straight like the other girls, and that was like their whole slogan. My hair straight like the other girls. And now that you say them, I can see how you can feel that was embarrassing for you, because that's a trauma for every black girl in America, is their hair.
Yeah.
When the perm does it wrong, or when they try a new style and it breaks their hair off, they got to cut it off. My ex-girlfriend, she had to cut her hair off like really short, and she cried her eyes out because she had to cut her hair because of the situation she was going through in life. And with the traumas of hair, where do you feel like, what was the healing like for you when you finally say, you know what, I've overcome this trauma of hair? What was that feeling like for you?
And I feel like this is just literally recent to this year. Dead serious. And I feel like I still kind of have some thoughts sometimes, but it's not as strong. I guess just feeling, it's not even like oh my God, I'm liberated. It really just feels neutral, which I think is even better. You know what I mean? So for me, it feels even better to just be neutral. Like, I remember, like, commenting on a post. You know, our friend Christine, Numbered Curls, where she put up a post that was like, embrace your hair. And I was like, forgive my language, F that. I was like, you don't embrace things. When you tell someone to embrace something, it's like you're overcoming a negative. Do you see what I'm saying? Like,
break it down
if I'm handicapped, right, I'm going to take that, like, embrace it. You're this, or like, you know, your body, like let's say you gain 50 pounds. Embrace it, embrace it. Embrace it is normally a term that people use when they're telling someone to overcome the hatred or disdain or dislike that they have for
To
something.
stay in the place of just that moment of what's going on, in a sense.
It's more so when you tell someone to embrace something, you're starting from a place of less than. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or someone tells someone, embrace your dark skin. What is that telling you? It's not really meant to be loved, but I want you to love it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if someone tells me to embrace my hair, I'm like, no, Christine, don't ever tell anybody that ever again. You don't tell them to embrace something, because what you're saying is your hair is less than, but I want you to love it. Don't start from a position of less than. Love your hair. That's the word that you have to use. I'm like, Christine, you know, they say Jesus had hair like wool. And I'm like, if he was lucky enough to have hair like wool, why am I not? You have to start thinking, no, like, I actually got the goods. And you know, there's a balance, because you never want to act like you're better than anyone else. But I'm like, you have to start from a position of, no, I was actually blessed to have this hair. Not the other way around. Oh, I got to embrace this thing that ain't really good. That's BS.
Yeah.
So I think like working through that and just having it be a neutral thing as opposed to like, oh, I love it. So I think that is kind of the balance for me. So what is that like for me? I guess when you look at it, it's liberating from the thoughts of negativity that I had of myself. But that was major. I just want to say it was really major because, you know, a lot of Black women had this, but like I even had a mom who was telling me this is bad. Where I feel like other Black women might have had a mom who actually had the same hair.
And that's embedded in that's embedded in you from childhood to adulthood. Like you can, every time you look at your hair, you look at yourself in the mirror, like, oh my gosh, I hate this. Or
exactly,
if your hair does like this, you know, because sometimes our hair does crazy things. Like, you know, I just had this widow's peak, and I'm like, yo, what the heck? And then, or sometimes my hair grows too long, it pushes itself back and it curls up. It's like this big curl over here sometimes if it grows too long. So I have to like cut it when I need to like get rid of that little piece of it. So it's like, that's a part of you your entire life, what's been embedded in you from your mom. And that's a serious trauma that you have to get over.
Yeah. And then, like I said, going to school with all white kids and like nobody looking like you. But I am glad it's, you know, I might have things pop up, situations pop up, but it's like, for the most part, I'm kind of neutral on it now.
So how do you tackle the things that come up in life that you've overcome in a serious way, but of course they still come up? Because you don't never really just get over a trauma. You just learn to like be neutral. You don't. It's like you learn to be neutral. You learn to love yourself for what you are, but there's also still triggers that come about. So how do you handle your triggers when they happen?
I have a toolbox. Do you?
Mm-hmm.
What's your toolbox? I want to hear.
So my toolbox is I journal.
Yeah.
Or I call my therapist when I have her on speed dial. Nice. Like, yo, like I'm having a moment.
Yeah.
And we talk it through. And there's some times where she's like have this telepathic thing where she calls me. She's like, yo, there's something going on with you.
Wow.
And I'd be like, there is. Can we talk right now? Or, you know, I'll call my best friend.
Yeah.
And she and I would talk for hours about whatever's going on. I love to hike. I love nature. So I will shut off everything and go be one with nature for some time. Like I love to, right now I'm doing this thing where I'm exploring Georgia, where I'm exploring like the different scenes of nature, the different hiking trails. The next one I want to go to is called Little Grand Canyon. It's like 2 hours away from here. And I'll have my phone on getting there. When I get there, I'm shutting the phone off and I'm just going to explore and just, that's my toolbox because that's where I feel safe. That's where I feel comfortable. That's where I feel re-energized and, you know, revitalized and stuff like that.
And when the trauma comes up and you do those things, like, are you handling it in the moment, or is it just like, hey, I'm just getting back to homeostasis, like, and then you still have to deal with the trauma? Like,
it's like a combination of both. So it just kind of depends on what's been triggered. So for me, I have high functioning depression, where I can function just fine, but I'm still depressed. But when it hits, Like it can hit for like a whole month. And that's the hardest part that I'm learning to deal with now is how to, when I'm hit for a month, how do I deal with it for that entire month? What do I do to still function and not be down and not be, moping around? So I'm still trying to figure that part of it out. But for the most part, I would say I'm well balanced now that I know how to handle it. It's like when it hits, when something else gets triggered, I'm like, okay, what do we do? What am I feeling? I go with my feeling. My feeling may say journal about it. My feeling may say, hey, listen to some music. My feeling may say, hey, go take a walk, go exercise, go swimming. I love swimming too. So whatever I feel, I do in those moments instead of waiting for it. Sometimes we'll wait, I ain't got time right now.
Yeah.
I do things in the moment.
Wow.
I have a prayer schedule 3 times a day. Nice. My alarm goes off 6:15, 1 o'clock, 9 o'clock.
Nice.
And at those moments, I do, hey, I'm talking to somebody, if I'm doing something, I'll stop what I'm doing. I got to go walk away because I'm trying to get myself to a space of sacredness where these moments are very sacred to me. They mean a lot. And that means people understand that that's Joevan's sacred time. So that's part of my toolbox as well, is just doing things in the moment, instead of waiting to do them. Because a lot of my life, I've waited to do so many things. And I realized, like, what if I just done it in the moment, live life in the moment? And I feel like there's a lot of healing that happens in the moment as well, where you can strip yourself of all of what society says about you, strip yourself of all of what your family may have said about you, strip yourself of everything that you said about yourself, and really get yourself to a place where you can be vulnerable with yourself and really like dig deep. I've been doing like a lot of deep digging over the years.
That's dope.
Where I'm looking at myself like, yo, why are you like that? What about that can you change? Or remember that moment you had when it was like a good moment and a good time? Like, what was that like? And then just think about reflecting on good times is my toolbox too. That makes you feel good very well, like very great. Like, if I had like this whole weight loss journey, it's up and down, up and down. And I remember like this morning, I was like, dang, I gained some weight. And I was a little down. I said, wait, remember, man, you've done this before. You've lost lots of weight. And that was like, okay, don't trip. So it's like really reflecting on the good of every situation and not just the bad.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I love that you prioritize yourself.
I have to, because there was some time in my life where I just never prioritized me.
Wow.
It was everything and everybody before me.
Wow.
And now it's like me comes first. First thing in the morning, like my phone, my sister says, y'all live on Do Not Disturb, but I do. From 9 o'clock p.m. till 9:30 next day, you cannot reach me. So if there's an emergency, I'm not the person to call.
That's dope.
And I'm really learning to now where I can feel when people call me if they're what the need is. So if I feel like you need me, I like, okay, and I can supply the need, I'm okay with it. But if you feel like you need me and the need is going to drain me, I don't pick up.
Oh, I love that.
And I've gotten okay with that, where no guilt resides inside of me for not picking up my phone, for not showing up to functions anymore, places I don't want to be, or even if I get to a function space, I'm like, you know what, I'm not feeling this anymore. I'll just get up and just disappear.
The Irish, what is it? The Irish goodbye?
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard that?
No.
The Irish goodbye is like, I think it's like one of two things. Like, oh, I got to go to the bathroom, and then you just never come back.
Yep.
Or it's just like, exactly like the Homer Simpson, like in the bushes, like,
yep,
you're gone.
And I'm okay with okay with that. And I've learned that my love for people was also a crutch to me, because my love for people would also allow for me to forget about myself and my problems, what I have going on, be there for them, but not be there for myself. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning to be okay with being alone.
That's so major.
Yeah. So that's my toolbox.
Yeah, I feel like people could take a lot from what you just said.
I hope they do.
I mean, being in nature, prioritizing yourself, and what I heard also was like sacred, like making your time actually sacred and important. And I think just by putting that intention on it kind of helps with your self-love and helps with your feeling of like, I'm taking care of me. Like, this is actually important.
Mm-hmm. So what's some things inside of your toolbox?
So definitely spending time in nature, same as you. One thing is EFT. You've heard of that? Why I'm like drawing a blank. It's tapping. Like,
Oh yeah. Yep.
it's a huge one in my toolbox. So for people who don't know, you're tapping on these meridian energetic points, and you're saying things as it comes up. So like, if someone pissed you off, then you're like talking about how badly someone pissed you off. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, but law of attraction, like you shouldn't say these things, but it's like editing a document. You can't heal what you don't reveal. So like you have to pull the document up so you can edit it and then move on. So like don't spend a lot of time on it.
Right.
You know, like I remember one time I was in ceremony with my homeboy and I was talking about an ex and I was like, he's an asshole, da, da, da. And he was like, you shouldn't be saying that about these things. And I was like, no, you have to say it how it feels so you can get it out, as opposed to like sugarcoating it, because that's when you're not walking in front of that person and saying it. You're talking about it, and you got to pull out that toxic energy outside of you. So anyway, so EFT, you do a round, you measure how you feel before you do it, you measure how you feel after, and the goal is just to get a little bit less, take away the charge. So EFT is one of my favorite tools. That one I usually use when there's anger or embarrassment. I notice that those are the two it works best on for me. Journaling, talking to my friends, and just spending time alone, like cooped up, you know, with a blanket, like basically cuddling myself. Those are my favorite tools.
Cuddling yourself.
Oh, and of course, plant medicine. Like if I have to figure something out that I can't figure out, I will do like a private mushroom ceremony with myself.
So what's your go-to plant medicine? Like the one that just works all the time?
Well, I mean, it depends on what I'm like coming to them for, but I mean, and I don't want to say it like that, like they're not like, you know, like Tylenol pills, because like in the Western world we think like, okay, I'm sick, I take something, I get better, but like
it's really putting a Band-Aid on it.
Huh?
It's putting a Band-Aid on it.
It's putting a Band-Aid on it. But like plant medicine, you develop a relationship with it, and they kind of help you. It's like a more of a relationship based thing. What's my favorite? I mean, the one that works all the time. Listen, there's so many different things that I take different ones for.
It varies on whatever the need is.
It varies.
And there's something for every need of the human body.
Yes. And now we're talking about like non-psychedelic plants. Like, you know, there are plants that might heal your knee. There are plants that are good for hypertension. There are plants that are good for this. Absolutely. So I don't have one that like works all the time, but I can say I do have favorites.
So every now and again I get very bad anxiety. What's a good plant medicine for anxiety?
Well, if we're talking about like in the moment, there could be something, but I think if you and I were talking off camera, I would be like, okay, let's talk about the root of this anxiety. And then it would be like, well, if you're open to sitting with psilocybin mushrooms in a ceremony, like anxiety and depression are two of the things that people always say that psilocybin healed. Like for me, I got off of depression medication from psilocybin alone. Like anyway, I went to Bali one time, like had psilocybin, and it was like, oh, okay, I'm good. Like I got off my medication, I was good. But I would say the recommendation would be like, if you're open to it, sit in ceremony, figure out the source of the anxiety, and what's going to happen is like they're going to rewire your neural pathways. So the anxiety kind of you're not going on those same neural pathways. And that would be my solution, because other than that, you're now replacing that Western Band-Aid with a plant medicine Band-Aid, and it's kind of not fair to you.
Wow. I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Huh. So you can still put a Band-Aid on it with plant medicine as well?
If that's your intention, if that's how you use it.
If you're just saying that I just need like a real quick fix real quick, and then go to a plant medicine.
Yeah.
It's not really getting to the root of the issue.
Yeah, if it's kind of like, if that's your intention, if that's your intention.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. But going to the root is always like And sometimes with some of these, like there are, which I'm really big on healing ancestral trauma, some things come from your
Ooh,
ancestors
can we
and
talk
they're
about
not
it?
even, yeah, we can talk about it. Seemed like you had something to say.
No, I had a question. So ancestral trauma, a lot of people don't believe that we have traumas from way back that dates back beyond us. What are some things that you believe that we experience that are very traumatic? Because for some odd reason, I've never had an experience with like a bad experience with a cop. Like nothing like I had one. I lied. Back in New York City, me and my cousin got pulled over because his car fit the description of a car that was in some type of crime, and they went through the car, searched the car, everything. My cousin, he was a little upset about it. I was like, "Yo, just chill out." But it wasn't like super. It could have went left, but it didn't because in New York City, you know, NYPD is all the way trash. But they are. So when it comes to ancestral traumas, what are some things that you've noticed that are some traumas from our ancestors?
I think it depends on the person
Mm-hmm.
and like their specific lineage. But I can say one thing that's like a result of this ancestral trauma is internalized depression and self-hatred. That's really rampant in our community, and I think it fuels a lot of our culture, which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll stop there. But I have seen like in ceremony where people's ancestral trauma comes up. Like in one of the last ceremonies I had, there was a girl who was reliving a moment where her ancestor was on a slave ship and her husband was thrown off as she was getting raped. And it's like, oh, this is where this trauma comes from.
It gets this deep.
Oh, yeah. My very first ceremony with ayahuasca, I was my ancestor who was a slave, and she was about to get raped. And I felt the whips and the lashings as if somebody were actually hitting my body. If you were looking at me in ceremony, you actually saw my body jolt. It gets that deep because if you come to the plants and say, this is what I need to heal, I've gone to therapy, like, why is this stuff not going away? Sometimes it isn't you, and it is your ancestors. And that's why I say it's specific to each person. You know, an Asian person might not experience the same thing.
Right.
That my ancestors did. But yeah, and those, like, that passes down on in your genes. And you might not know why you feel a certain way or fear a certain thing, but it's passed down.
So in these moments, because now I'm thinking like the clinical side of me is thinking when you have these moments and like you said, you were feeling like, you know, the whips and the rape and everything like that, what is something one should do after that experience? Because that's heavy, very heavy. To have to go back, it's like you guys are we're time traveling. What should someone do who's gone back? They felt that they had that experience, and then now they're back in real time, but that thought of what happened is going through them. Like, what are some things they should do?
So, and the way it was framed, it's not like you leave there and you're kind of re-traumatizing yourself. So, like, when working with these medicines, part one is sitting with the medicine and having your ceremony. Part two, just as important, is integration. And integration is taking everything that you learned and integrating it into your normal life. If you don't do that, then your whole ceremony was a wash. And you just did that, like, for absolutely nothing. So, if you can work on integration yourself, you should be journaling or doing what you do, like go into nature and see how this situation is playing out in your life, and then write out, how am I going to change this? What am I going to take from this learning? Like, what behaviors do I see in myself that match that, and how am I going to change them?
I want to go to a ceremony.
You what?
I want to go to a ceremony.
I think you should. I don't mean to say that. I think I can see how it would be beneficial.
Absolutely. Now I'm like so
For
serious.
sure.
When's the next one?
July 9th, July 23rd, and then October 6th.
How long did it last?
But I did say for like us and our friends, we're gonna have like a private one.
Oh, okay. Okay. Whenever you set that one up.
So yeah.
Okay.
So how long do they last? It depends on what medicine you're doing.
Not like, is it like a day thing or a weekend thing? You know how they have retreats and like, oh, it's a 3-day retreat, you know, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or is like, that's how it's going to be?
It depends on which one. Like July 9th that we're doing in Detroit, that's just a 1-night ceremony, but everything else is like 2 to 3 nights. But there are some like in Peru that are like 14-day retreats with 7 ceremonies, and they go really, really deep. So it depends on, you know, which one you find.
So I have another question. To the person who, because there's like a little bit of fear in me of where this may take me. And I'm not talking about like where it's going to, like, well, yeah, I'm talking about where it's going to take me mentally, spiritually, and emotionally. So how do you prepare someone to release the fears of where it may take them before they get there? So when they get there, they can have an open mind. Because I want to go, my intention would be, for me, it would say, I want to have an open mind throughout this entire experience. I want to be able to receive what's here for me to receive. I want to be so open to it to where there's nothing holding me from getting what I need to get from it. That's how open I want to be. But my fear is also that my personal, what's the word I'm looking for? My personal thoughts of things may put a hold on what I want to, what I'm to receive. Is that making sense?
I think what I'm hearing you say is you're afraid you won't be open, and if you're not open and if you're kind of judging it or scared that you won't receive the benefits.
Correct.
So I think the most important thing is to focus on what you want to receive out of it, and understand that fear isn't always like a bad thing, and it's totally natural when starting something brand new. So that's like before the ceremony. Once you like start to be under the effects of the medicine, if you go to a place in that moment, release. Because if you try to fight it, it's like that's when people have like, you know, bad experiences. But if you release, and there's been countless stories of like as soon as you let go, that's when you receive. And I'm actually specifically talking about like an ego death. There's a thing called the ego death where like you might take the medicine. It doesn't happen every time, but you might take the medicine at a high dose. You don't know who you are. You don't know anything. Like you don't know who you don't know you're a human. Like you just have no concept of anything on this physical plane. And it might be very scary, very disorienting, or you might have like a pretty hellish experience. And like I said, countless stories of as soon as you let go and release, that is when you can feel peace that you've never felt before. So my advice would be like, 1, make sure you like do your research, watch other people's experiences, and hear also what their benefit was, so you can kind of be like, okay, you know, if I want this, I got to go through this.
Yeah.
And then when you're there, kind of let go of control. Because ego deaths do happen. They're not pleasant. I just had one a couple months ago. It was one of the worst experiences of my life, but I've had peace since then that I've never felt before in my life. And so the benefit was
the peace.
Vast.
Yeah. That's dope.
Yeah. It's not something where I could tell you, you'll be fine. You might not be fine.
Right. Your experience is your experience. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But you got to go through it. You got to allow it to happen. What's in this bag?
What's in this bag is hape and a self-applicator. And I can show it to you. Self-applicators are so beautiful. So this is a self-applicator. And this is hape or rape. And it comes from the Amazon. Different blends come from different tribes in the Amazon. And it's made of tobacco, but not like the type that we have here. It's a different type of tobacco, and each tribe has their own like secret blend that they kind of don't tell you everything that's in it, and it's prayed over by shamans, and it helps you open up your third eye. It helps you clear blocked energy and release negative energy. So people like in Peru, it'll be like all day they're kind of experiencing this plant medicine.
So does it help with like productivity?
I wouldn't say that. No, it's more like a spiritual thing. Like it's kind of, like I said, opening your third eye, cleansing yourself, clearing blocked energy. Because sometimes if you take it like at a high dose, you might throw up. You might go number 2. Yeah, if you take it at a high dose.
What's a high dose?
It's you kind of like feel it out like more than a pea size. I know my trainer last year he gave me something, and I definitely I threw up all the spaghetti I'd had earlier. Yeah, it was really intense. But it doesn't have to be that intense.
But a pea size is the recommended dosage.
Yeah, about a pea size.
How do you consume it?
You just pour it out into your hand. You take the applicator, you kind of how do I say this? Flatten out any beads, you push it, and then you kind of blow, and it goes into that nostril. Or you can give it to someone else to receive, and you do that through a pipe. So I would just kind of blow into your nose.
I'm not going to say what I want to say.
Huh?
I'm not going to say what I want to say. It's like a shotgun.
A shotgun?
You ever smoke weed?
Yeah.
Someone give you a shotgun?
So it's not like that, because I'm not, if I'm administering it to you, I don't take any. I just put it in the pipe, and then I blow.
Okay. Excuse my ignorance. Okay. So that one there is self-administered. You put it inside of there, you blow, it pretty much comes in the air, and then you inhale the application.
Yeah.
I'm interested.
Yeah. Next time I see you, I will have my pipe.
All right. Don't let me down.
I'm like, I wonder if I can do it. I've seen people do it with a self-applicator on 2 people. I just don't, and I have 2 pipes actually. I just don't know if I could do that. I don't know.
Let's not test it out now.
You don't want to test it?
I don't want to be a scapegoat.
Scapegoat. Like, I'm trying to visualize it. If I got really close to your face and I blew into one part of it, I could probably.
But how would you do it though? Because the way it's like the V. Like,
I've seen it done.
Like, would you take it sideways and maybe blow?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like that. And I'd be right there.
Oh, it's in your nose.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking it's like in your mouth, like. Huh.
Nope. So when I do this, I'm blowing that way.
So you're blowing from your nose and you inhale.
No.
So you blow from your mouth and inhale into your nose.
It just goes into your nose. You don't have a choice.
You done this before, Ramsey? No. Oh, I see you holding out.
I've been holding out. Man, I wish I had my pipe. I swore I brought it, but I didn't. Oh well. I'll
see you again Thursday.
Exactly. And I'll serve it there.
Okay. Man, this is very informative.
Yeah.
Very educational. You definitely showed us another side of healing than what we know it to be. Because we feel like healing is only one way. And which is the traditional way of what we know it to be. But there's so many outlets to start a healing journey. And this is one of them.
Yes. So
I'm going to do a quick commercial real quick. And then I want you to close us out with something very powerful, very informative, or just something. So that's Amanda that we just, that's Amanda. When she closed the episode, what she said was very touching and powerful. Okay. Think on it. Don't think too hard though.
I know I'm thinking.
This episode is sponsored by the Embolden Institute. Is my space where I have my own little piece of healing where I help you affirm yourself on a daily basis. I help you to send hope to yourself. So I text you every day, 365 days a year Text me 404-476-6780, 404-476-6780. I'll send you daily affirmations. You text me the word affirmation or affirmations for those of you. Text me those words, 404-476-6780, or text me the word heal to 404-476-6780. And I'll send you daily message of healing, how you can heal yourself, or just pretty much just words that just help you, that touches and pierces your heart, that helps you to unrelease and unpack the things that you've been going through. So text me 404-476-6780, and I also do respond. So if you got a question, or you just say, hey man, you just want to say a thank you, or you just want to just say, hey, how can I get somebody else signed up? Text me, I respond, we can talk, chit chat. If it takes me a little while to get to you, just let me know. Just know that I'm getting there. All right, Amanda.
Okay. So one thing I want to leave people with, and is that whatever it is that God made you uniquely for to do, whatever your purpose is, do that and stick to that. And no matter how crazy or outrageous it sounds or weird, do that, because people who are not attached to their purpose are like an unlit lamp. And when you tap into what God gave you and God made you for, you're tapping into an infinite stream of love, and it is going to help you move through the difficult parts of your life if you know that you're doing what God intended you to do. And all day, every day, you get to like enjoy the heck out of your life. And
I love that.
If you don't do it, you're being very selfish, because God gave you these gifts to serve others. And if you don't tap into them, you are being selfish with your gift.
Can't close out no better than that.
Thanks, Joevan.
Thank you, Amanda. For real. Appreciate it, for real. That's another episode, guys. We're out. Peace.